Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming along today. You'll have done a couple of hours at the show now, I expect. I hope it's been useful so far, and that the half hour or so I'm going to spend talking to you this afternoon is also useful in terms of giving you some thoughts and ideas about planning for 2019. My session this afternoon is going to be around trends and how they're affecting the business that we're seeing on the high street and how we should interpret them for the types of products that we want to stock next year. When we talk about trends, what we often find is that people instantly think about design and colour and surface pattern and all those sorts of elements. But actually there are lots of other trends going on in the market that are influencing how we behave as consumers ourselves and how our customers behave. And it's really important that we understand those so that we can make the best product selections possible and therefore look to grow our sales and profits next year. And what I'm hoping to do this afternoon is to give you a few thoughts about how the social and economic trends that we're seeing this year will begin to influence what our customers want from us in 2019 and therefore the sorts of products that we should be looking for when we're here as buyers today and indeed as we go on to source new products through the rest of the year. So the first slide that I've put up here is around economic uncertainty. And that's no surprise. As business owners, we can see that day to day in the decisions that we're making ourselves. And as consumers, when we're at home, of course, we're feeling that same uncertainty as well. It's important to recognize it and understand the impact it has on our customers' behaviour, what they're spending and how they're thinking about those spending decisions. But once we've understood that, we need to move on and start to look for the really good products that they do still want to buy from us. The uncertainty is happening at all levels, as we know. If you've read the papers today, there are all sorts of comments coming out around what the Conservative government are thinking about doing around Brexit. We know that the European community really don't know how to handle it either. So it's not surprising that you, me, and the people that are shopping in our shops are feeling the same. The actual impact of that uncertainty has been a change in the value of sterling. That is the big impact in terms of us as buyers looking for product for our businesses. And what that means is that when we're looking to buy product that's coming in from abroad, our money doesn't go as far. If you're in businesses where you have you're doing some exporting, of course it's fantastic news because all of a sudden your product becomes cheaper. But in understanding the impact of that uncertainty, we just need to clock a number of things, which I will come on to in a moment. The upside of the uncertainty, as I say, is that the change in the value of sterling. And what that has done is really impacted on things like the number of tourists that are coming to the UK. And your location doesn't have to be a seaside resort or a tourist destination to recognise that you've got a lot more people around who've come to the UK from abroad, who have money in their pockets and are keen to spend with us, which is fantastic news. It's a real upside. What we have to make sure is that we have the right products in our shops that they want to buy. And some of the trends that we've been seeing around that this year is that they're looking for British-made product. They want to take home a souvenir from the UK. That doesn't mean it's necessarily a product that carries an image of the UK on it. It could easily be something that's been made in the UK. We also find that a lot of people from this country too are looking to buy a lot more product that has been made in the UK, supporting British industry through what is feeling like quite difficult times. So if your business is one where you can actually maximise that opportunity by sourcing product that's made in the UK, you should certainly look at that as an option as part of your product mix for 2019. If you are in a location that actually has a high tourist footfall, and that might be a major city centre, but it could easily be somewhere on the coast or just a beautiful rural location somewhere in the UK. Again, make the most of that opportunity. Make sure that you have the right quality of product that your customers are looking to buy, so that when they come in and they're looking for something a little bit different, they can get that from you rather than just the sorts of things that they're seeing in multiple retailers around the country all the time. When I was a buyer at the National Trust, one of the things we used to find was that there were certain trends even in products around souvenir type items. And by souvenir, I don't mean something that has a photograph necessarily of the location that they're just visiting. It might be a local recipe for a fudge or a biscuit or a local cider. It might be a piece of jewelry made by a local craftsperson. But those are classed as souvenirs by those visiting because it's a memory of the visit to the location that they've just made. But what we often used to see was that if there were large groups of people traveling together, they would often copy one another in what they were buying. And if somebody in the group had found a really tasty bag of fudge, then actually 30 or 40 people that were in the shop at the same time might also latch onto that and start to pick up those sorts of items. So if you are in a location where that type of market is relevant to you, think about what those key products might be for you, how you can promote them in your shop by making them more visible or telling the story behind the way they've been produced, and encourage more and more people to actually buy those items, and then just make sure you've got enough stock of them to make the sales. So the change in the value of sterling is a real upside for us in terms of people visiting our locations, different places in the country. If you have any links to export yourself, be it that you're selling your products online as part of your retail business, then actually the export side of your business also benefits from this change in the value of sterling because your products become cheaper to those buying them from the outside. So do bear that in mind. While the devaluing of sterling has had some negative impacts for us, it's had some real positives as well. Make sure you understand what those are for your business so that you can maximize that opportunity and take that as a real upside for your growth in 2019. There is no doubt that as retailers, we've all suffered with the increases in the costs in our business. There have been all sorts of increases that we've had to take on in the last 18 months or so, from the increase in the national minimum wage, the pensions legislation, which has now filtered down to all sizes of business, however small, rent increases as landlords are wanting to put the rents up, and indeed the business rate increases which came through at the beginning of the year. All of that make life quite tough for us on the high street at the moment, because if we can't see a way of growing our sales, all of these costs are coming straight off our bottom line and our profits. So what we do have to do is to work out where the positives are that we can actually build on. I've mentioned the fact that there are a lot of visitors coming to the country now, that we can use that as a real upside in terms of making sure we stock product that they want to buy from us. But what is it that we can do in terms of our own UK purchases as ongoing businesses that can actually help us drive those businesses going forward? Well, let's have a bit of a think and see how we can make that work. If as consumers we're generally spending less, what we have to do is to make sure that the products that we offer, the products that we're buying here at the Autumn Fair, at Top Drawer next week, or indeed Spring Fair in February, are much more relevant to our customers and what they want to buy from us. We haven't got a lot more money to spend at the moment as retailers, so we have to spend it much more wisely, both in terms of the products that we select for our customers and indeed the volume of those products that we buy, so that we're trialing more new fresh product more regularly and therefore keeping our customers interested. The one thing that we can't stop doing, both in our business lives and our personal lives, is actually stop spending money ourselves. Because if we stop investing in our businesses, then actually that will just continue to have a negative impact on the economy and indeed just drive our sales further down and further down. So wherever we have opportunities, we need to keep investing in our businesses, be it small amounts of stock, testing new lines, and making sure that where we can, we're driving them forward. So what I'd like to suggest to you is we start to think about some of the social trends that we've seen recently and how we can pick up on these. And I've showed some images on the screen here. If it helps to take pictures of the slides, by all means do. I have no problem with that, to remind you of the things that we're talking through. One of the social trends that we see a lot of in times of uncertainty is people wanting to spend more time together, be they family and friends, having meals together, celebrating occasions. And if you sell cards in your shops, for instance, I suspect you've seen an increase in your occasion sales this year. People are wanting to mark special occasions more, not just by sending a text or some sort of a picture on social media, but actually saying, I've remembered you and I'd like to send you something to mark this occasion. You can build on that if you think about your product offer. You don't have to be a gift shop to be a retailer who can maximize that opportunity that occasions represent. Think about all the occasions we celebrate through a year. We've got the fixed seasons, yes, Valentine's, Mother's Day, Easter, Father's Day. But if those aren't relevant to you as a retailer, there are still plenty of other occasions that you can pick up on, be it weddings, be it hen parties, even things like the World Cup or big sporting events can become occasions to celebrate, which give people an excuse to get together and spend time together. There was a huge buzz around the World Cup this year. That wasn't just because everyone loves football, but it gave a really good excuse for people to get together, have a barbecue, have a drink together, or just spend time. And all of those occasions are going to become more and more important as we get to the end of this year and into 2019. So really think about the business that you're in, why your customers are coming to you, and how you can tap into that celebratory nature around occasions. The other thing to think about with that is that if money is slightly tight from a consumer's point of view, the one person in the family that they won't want to perceive that change are the children. If there are any occasions to be celebrated in any family, it is around important markers for children, be it their birthday, going to a new school, exam results, whatever it might be. That may or may not be relevant to your business as well, but just think about how you might be able to tap into that. It might be that you don't sell a lot of product that's relevant, but it doesn't stop you putting celebratory messages into your window as just words of encouragement for people generally, and just to show that you're in tune with what's going on the high street and in people's lives. One of the other social trends that we're seeing come through really, really strongly is to do with recycling, waste, and the use of plastic. This has been on the agenda for a long time, but Blue Planet 2 and the picture of that seahorse with the cotton bud stuck in his tail as he floated gently through the sea seemed to bring this alive to a level that we haven't seen for years and years and years. And it's really getting some traction now. As you walk these halls while you're here over the next couple of days, you will see so many exhibitors now offering you product made of recycled materials. Coffee cups that are now made of bamboo so that people don't have to use the Starbucks wax mugs. Insulated bottles so that you're not using just pick up plastic ones from the supermarket or whatever. If you sell cards, you'll see that the card publishers are starting to talk about using biodegradable films, or indeed buying cards that aren't wrapped at all. It's coming at us from all angles, and rightly so. We need to cut down on all of that waste. And of course it has two impacts. It's not just a question of cutting down on waste. What we should find actually is the product becomes cheaper as well because it's got less packaging on it. But the point is there is a message here that you can tap into as retailers. And it's not about driving it sort of with commercial cynicism. Yes, of course you want to make money out of anything that you do, but this is a way of actually growing your sales if it's relevant to you and your customers. So again, think about this link into waste and how that might encourage you to maybe look at different product areas, look at product that's packaged in a different way, or deal with it differently in store. But there's a very strong story here that your customers will want to latch into more and more. It'll go way beyond 2019. So if you sell products where this could be a relevant link, then think about the types of things you might want to select for your shops in 2019. You'll see on the slide there's a whoopee cushion. I'm going to show my age now and say that, you know, I really remember these as being one of those things you had at Christmas that you put under somebody's, on the seat of somebody's cushion, and it really genuinely did used to make people laugh. And actually what that says to talk about is about humour and having fun. If people are feeling slightly tense about life and the way things are going and how much money they've got, the one thing they do want to do is to have a laugh. And so to have product that carries humour in your ranges where it's appropriate can make all the difference in the world to somebody's shopping experience. I'm going to hark back again actually to the time when I was a buyer at the National Trust. And we used to have a spinner of greeting cards in our shops. And the shop would often appear to be quite empty. There'd be nobody there. And then there'd be a little chuckle coming from the corner because somebody had found the card spinner. And they liked some of the humour that was on those cards. It doesn't have to be rude. It doesn't have to be clever. It just wants to make you smile and make you laugh, hopefully, too. But what I used to find was that if they found a range of cards that they liked, they didn't just buy one, they'd buy 3 or 4. Actually they couldn't choose, and they knew that all of them would be relevant to their friends at some point who shared their similar humour. Now it's not just cards that have humour on it, of course it's all sorts of things from coffee mugs to cushions, up and down the scale. But it is good to have something in that selection that you're offering that is going to make somebody smile. So think about again how you might be able to introduce that into some of your ranges next year, because I think it will make a real difference to people if they can have a laugh with the product that they're buying as well. Charity donations seems to be increasing in popularity. And it's not just about making a charity donation, it's about buying something that gives you a warm feeling because you know that there's a contribution being made to something that you support and feel passionately about. Sometimes that's done literally as a monetary thing, sometimes it's done because the people that are creating the product actually are from some sort of a charitable foundation, be it in the UK or abroad, and therefore the money you spend is being reinvested into those businesses. But there is definitely a feel-good factor around that type of purchasing, and it's well worth thinking about again whether some of the product in your product mix could actually benefit from having those sorts of links. And then you've got Dave with his t-shirt on, and that's really about personalisation. Something that we've seen grow significantly over the last couple of years. Personalisation, particularly because of businesses online, where it's very easy to make that personal link, literally. Started off very much driven by greeting cards, but expanding onto all sorts of formats. And the thing about personalised product is not necessarily just that it's got somebody's name on. It's about the fact you made the effort and you put that much thought into that purchasing of that gift, that it is specific and relevant to the recipient. And if I was to sum up one thing about all of these social trends, it's about finding product that is really, really relevant to the person who's buying it and the person who is going to be receiving it. We don't have an awful lot of money sloshing around anymore. We don't have the option of buying one or two because we can't decide. What we do is want to make sure that whatever we buy, be it for ourselves, be it for our homes, or as a gift, is really relevant to the person who is going to be receiving it or using it. The days of being able to get away with selling tat really have gone. People aren't prepared to spend money on that anymore. What they want is something that is functional and useful. So the more that you think about the product that you're stocking, the fact that it will be relevant to the customer buying it and potentially recipient if it's a gift, that as well as being a gift, it's also functional and useful, the more popular the product that you're selling is going to be. Because those are the key criteria that people are looking for now. They don't just want to buy something, they want something that is relevant, functional, and useful. The next slide is about design trends. And as I said right back at the beginning, a lot of people think, talk about trends, that's all about colour and surface design. It absolutely is about colour and surface design. But it only works if it's being applied to products that people want to buy. And so the design trends that we're seeing coming through are very much linked into those social elements that we've just talked about. So let's just take them one by one. Thinking about the environment, cutting down on waste, reusing things. That doesn't mean to say that everything has to be grey and dull and dreary. That's absolutely not the case. But what it is driving is a very clear colour palette around natural colours. Browns, greens, blues, lilacs. Quite a soft colour palette, but quite natural in its look. Part of that is because there is a drive to reduce the amount of colouring agents, bleaching, whatever might be going on in actually delivering those products to us, and therefore they have much more natural colours anyway. But it's also to reinforce the natural idea around some of these products. So you will see today as you're walking through the halls, particularly as you go through maybe into 3, 4 and 5, that the colour palettes are really starting to change. Things like drinking cups where they're using a bamboo, naturally that's a cream and flecked material. So you'll be seeing more of that type of a colour palette coming through. Unicorns have been around for quite a while now. They seem to be being usurped by mermaids to a degree. But they all actually tie into this slightly ethereal, magical type of feeling. And that is driving a very definite colour palette too. So the lilacs, the blues, the pale pinks, the foils, the glitters, all of that is linking back into that slightly magical and mystical feeling that they're trying to put across. So even if unicorns as the image is changing, the colour palette still seems to be around. And actually that is linking into the trend we're seeing on mindfulness, work-life balance, trying to relax more, trying to get to a point where we're a bit more organised and not quite so stressed about everything. Again, that is going into a very soft colour palette with pale pinks, blues, lilacs, pale sort of shades of brown and grey. So the social trends feed into those design trends and the types of colours that we're seeing. And you can make those links quite strongly in the products that you put together, so that items don't have to carry imagery at all. You can build up looks in your shop through display and colour palette and put across the feeling behind those images without having to have specific imagery or indeed humour lines attached to that. One of the other things that seems to be moving through the industry very strongly as well is the increase in licensing. So this is where a manufacturer is buying the rights to use imagery or design content to apply to product. It's been very, very dominant within the card industry particularly. We've seen it a lot in some of the party product that comes through, this is particularly for children, which is influenced by things like Disney characters or TV characters. And in the adult market, it's coming through in terms of some of the lifestyle brands that we're seeing. The great thing about licensing is that it works really well where the brand values of the range being licensed applies really well to the products it's being applied to. So if you think about something like Love Island, which was so dominant over the summer months with a big sector of TV watchers, the types of product that Love Island license applies well to have to have those same values as the program itself. So you would have seen on there quite a lot around alcohol, drinking, having fun, partying, being out in the summer. And the brands that have licensed Love Island are brands that tie into that quite strongly, be they people producing glassware, barware, that type of thing. So where licensing works between the brand and the person producing the product, then that can be a really strong synergy to play on. So if you're a retailer selling home interiors, for instance, then you're going to be looking at product that's carrying the licenses of the latest designers, if that's relevant to your customers. Regardless of which type of retail sector you're in, it is going to be really, really important to keep focused on what is going on around us, not just what's happening in our shops day to day, not just what's happening on our local high street, but some of those bigger elements and how they will impact on the type of product that you might want to look to stock in your shops. Without a doubt, that varies as to whether you're a homewares retailer, a clothing retailer, a more general gift retailer, and your location, because that will affect who's visiting you, how much they have to spend, and the frame of mind that they're in. But as retailers, we would be mad to ignore the impact of those social trends on the product that our customers want to buy from us next year. And so it's really important as you walk around the fair today and when you come back to spring fair in February, that you bear in mind the impact of those changes on the types of products people are going to be wanting to buy from you and how you can fulfill that for them. So if I was to leave you with one thought, it would be that we have to keep calm in all of this. There's absolutely no point in panicking about it. We have to hold our nerve, but what we do have to do is absolutely obsess about our customers. They are the most important thing to all of us. Without our customers, none of us have a business. Actually, it doesn't matter what we like as retailers. It has to be relevant and right for our customers. And if it's not right for them, then they're not going to buy it from you. And it means that actually we're wasting our time. So really spend some time thinking about what it is your customers would like to buy from you that they can't buy from your competitors on your local high street. And then make sure that they can see that clearly in the fronts of your shops, in the displays at the front, so that they know what you have to offer and that you are relevant to them, so that they will come and shop with you. Now, I don't know if anybody's got any questions. I know people don't necessarily like sticking their hands up when there's a group of you here. I'm going to be here for a couple of minutes, so if you'd like to ask me any questions, please come and ask me. Thank you very much for your time.